Hello, this is Dale Matthews. This is Inside News. This is Mike Jones. This is SOS. This is our website. Which of you wishes to speak first?
I'll let the website go first.
Okay. And now the SOS graphic over my shoulder.
Yes.
That is
I was wondering, is the delay that bad? Or
that's there because what I did
waiting
was
for the website to speak.
I always try to find some kind of graphic to put over my shoulder to match with our lead story. And this one I Googled Oregon House Bill 3453. And guess what came up? SOS graphic. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Why?
So,
doesn't make any sense.
Why? Yes, it does. Think about that a little bit. You ever been on a dark road here in Josephine County, maybe coming back from Cave Junction or something at night, and you're kind of grateful that there's somebody on the road ahead of you that's got brake lights that you can follow because they can see the twists and turns maybe a little bit before you do? That's Mike and me. What we're trying to do is we're trying to show you.
Well, that may be you. I have good headlights, so I don't have any problem with that.
Well, some people, some of our audience could benefit from following somebody else, especially with the twists and turns on a foggy night. And that's Mike and I. We're trying to show the lights a little ahead of time. What's going to happen here pretty soon with this thing about the new advisory question is the TV stations over in Medford and the Daily Courier are going to get caught flat-footed. Well, wait a minute. Where'd this come from? Not the advisory question, but some of the ramifications of it. We're future-proofing you guys. I mean, you watch this and you know for sure what they're saying incrementally, day by day, what it is that the commissioners are coming up with, all the time and effort they're spending on wordsmithing us down to the smallest detail. It's just an advisory question. They say they already know the answer. Why are they being so careful in laying this out? I made a little speech yesterday about this. Mike, you remember what I said to him? It was a gamble on my part to take this risk to say, well, here's what I think is happening. Mike remembers what I said, basically.
Yeah. Yes. And I will now reiterate it in its entirety.
Not in its entirety. Too boring for that.
No. Essentially, he just basically told them, "I know what you guys are up to. I know what you're planning, and you're parsing the crap out of the verbiage on this question because you want to craft it in a way to get the answer that you want, which will justify the action that you want to take. Otherwise, why would you care? It wouldn't make any difference. But there is a difference. This is their substitute for a levy. They don't have a levy, so they're going with this, and they're crafting it for victory is what they're trying to do, and and they blew right past it in their protected time. They did not even address it. All they did was say that there was something wrong with the way Dale was doing his math, because he was saying 40%, 50%, whatever. He was talking about how, they'll just say that 40% is as good as 50% when they, submit this to the governor or whatever. And that was the only thing that she addressed about what he said. Listen, if somebody says some crackpot theory that you feel is worth responding to, you would respond to it substantively. This was a very non-substantive answer, and so we understand pretty much that that's just a little bit more verification that this is what is in their minds. Not that we really needed a whole lot, because it's not like
they don't need 51%.
Telegraphing it. Yeah.
And then they don't, and the 56% that we got this last time around and defeating this levy for, the 9th time in nearly 20 years, They don't even, it must be, as I said, it must be so frustrating for you guys to never really get there. I mean, you get close, but never good. Now they don't need to even get close. I mean, if they can say, well, 40% is as good as 50%. And I said to the audience, well, it looks like I'm speaking to the commissioners, but you know who I'm speaking to. And I said, who here believes something like this? Who here believes that if the vote is 44 to 56, the commissioners aren't going to, as Simon here puts it, pull the trigger? Of course they will. It could get down as 40 to 60, as low as that. And I think it could get down as a third, down as low as a third of the people say we need this. Well, listen, Governor, it's an emergency, first of all, and the police will confirm this, and so will the OSB. No, they won't. They won't. They can't, because they told us, no, it's not. And a third of the people want it. It's an emergency, and also these two commissioners, they're not going to say this, have nothing left to lose. Let's do it. The latest from the little back room today is that Cheryl wants to say, basically, that we're going to get free money. And Hare wants to say, well, let's say that we're going to get, free resources. And Heck was pushing for saying something that would be illegal.
I like the idea of having put this out there, because it sort of forces them, or pushes them toward at least needing to get the majority, affirmative on this vote, which is why they're tweaking the verbiage so much and making it, trying to say, well, they're going to give us free money. It's, there's no accountability that's needed on this. Listen, just in case this is not already perfectly clear to you, there's no such thing as free money. Even if they weren't going to raise our property taxes, which we do suspect that they will, and we'll back that up with some teeth here down the road. But even if we thought that they weren't going to do that, and they were actually going to give us money, that's never free. There's always going to be a quid pro quo with the state or the federal government. There just is.
And the character sitting here with them, Wally Hicks, has told us, okay, I know some of you watch the show every night. Sorry, we're repeating stuff, but there are people who don't, so be patient now. Wally Hicks has said that basically this charter is not going to protect us. In his opinion, he's the one giving them legal advice. He's the one that's taking their ideas and compiling them into this thing that's going to go on the ballot. And basically what he's said in the past is, because it doesn't protect us, what makes us think with that attitude among all of them that we're protected from something even as bad as a sales tax? Our charter says we can't, but Wally has said the charter is really not worth anything.
Right.
Well, I know we like to think we have protection. Oh, they can never do that.
And that's the show, folks.
Yeah, really, it is. Okay, so we're going to lead you down. We're going to lead you down the garden path. No. We're going to show you the way around those twists and turns and this dark, dark voyage that we're on. I'm sorry. This is not a happy story. Here we go.
What we're looking at, Commissioner Heck, is that Commissioner Hare and I each asked Regis Council to draft the ballot title, the ballot summary. Each of us had some suggestions. The one I asked for was for the language to be more common vernacular rather than government use and legalese. We'll also have an explanatory statement. I did not request anything on explanatory statement. I think the two of us just asked him to go ahead with that. So that's just his. I didn't request one.
Yes. I'm inclined to think Commissioner Walker is probably more clear. Mine's just wording, using the same number of words. Yes. Commissioner Heck is reading this. We have a general discussion at 1:30 that I'm not able to make because I have a 2 o'clock in Medford. I'd really like to be at that 1:30. I'd really like him to still go to this, did a dry run this morning to this court case on 838. It means you wouldn't have a quorum for your 1:30 general discussion.
You're both going to be gone, so we cancel.
Can we reschedule that one so you can go, if you're so inclined to go back over to Medford?
Well, as long as the only conflict was that I missed this meeting this morning or late, and then it wasn't.
Oh, if we could, here.
We can, everybody's copacetic with my missing out on this afternoon on that. I would like to.
I would like to. So if you wouldn't mind,
We'll reschedule.
does that sound okay? Works out. I'll have 2 meetings to go through.
Hey.
Give you a second to read that over. Just a second.
Bing.
We've been looking over for the last 13 minutes, but you can have a second.
It would be nice to finalize this so we can get it on.
Well, that's what I'm concerned about, is legal having
At
to get it.
least the ballot title and draft, I mean, so people know. If we don't get to the description, I think we can work on that, although it's not that far away. Yeah, that's definitely.
See, the explanatory statement goes more into the kinds of things that the meat of the request, and I think this is good.
And how many words are we at right now?
I think all of them are good.
They are.
They're all within the limit. This one's 430 out of 500. These are 19 out of 20.
I haven't had a word count on
I think it's 422 on the explanatory statement. I did not change the top part, but it is.
Oh, it is. It's 422. We're well within the, within the 500.
Do you have is there a Commissioner Walker's explanatory revision?
I didn't do an explanatory.
Okay.
As
But
our
it looks like
discussion,
you
we had,
guys-
our discussion that we had with legal last week was
Good
that
stuff.
you would do the explanatory because of the suggestions that were made during the meeting.
I still think it needs attention. I just did
I think so.
a review. I just wanted to make sure that we're consistent. Pat outlined, and I hope we're consistent with maybe a different takes on the same track or different tracks on the same take of the petition of the state for money. I think we're tracking in the same way now. Because there was a little bit of a difference with what was initially proposed, but kind of how I was saying when you're asking. It doesn't say it in the law, but there's no way that the governor makes a determination to declare a state of emergency without the Board of Commissioners. And that was actually, I believe,
Now,
versions of 3453. It did outline, I believe, that the governing body would have to declare a petition.
Now, wait a minute. It doesn't say it in the law, but there's no way the governor can do it. No, that's not an accurate statement. If it doesn't say it in the law, then the governor can do it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So what they'd like it to be is that the law specifies that the governor can't do it without some kind of control here locally, but that's not what the law says. He just said it doesn't say it in the law, but the governor can't do this. That's a lot of BS. Sorry, I started this here because Keith had walked into the meeting late. He showed up for something and it turned out that it wasn't happening. So that's nice. So he was late. So he walks in on this and they've already been agonizing about this for about 15 minutes. And this is like the 5th meeting about this to get it to exactly right. And while it seems boring, hey, where's the action? This is what I'm talking about. They are agonizing over every single word. Now, if on something where they already know the answer, why are they being so ultra careful about the way they say this? This is no advisory question. This is like conditioning. This is like, like I said yesterday, it's like that old uncle that's creepy, that's hanging around and putting his arm around the kids and saying, well, stop touching me, uncle. Hey, no, I'm just touching you. I'm just hugging you. That's all that it is. He's conditioning them. That's what these characters are doing, in my opinion. I think it's creepy. But
Mhm.
Let's let him creep along here.
Governor. It didn't make it explicitly in the law. There's no way, like a drought declaration, the governor declares that. The governor doesn't do it without the county, asking for that declaration. So it's,
To make the request.
you have to. There's just no other way around it.
Yes, there's another way around it.
The only insertion I would make is this: the Board of County Commissioners can petition the governor to proclaim a public safety fiscal emergency if the county determines it is financially unable to provide. Just that.
That's on the third line.
On the, yes, no, second line.
Second line.
It's on the idea that it clarifies that it is the county's determination
Right.
that it is fiscally, they're financially unable to provide an adequate level of public safety services.
A public safety fiscal emergency, if the governor determines that a county, based upon the county's request,
Just the Board of County Commissioners may petition the governor to proclaim a public safety fiscal emergency if the county determines it is financially unable to provide that.
Now, that's an important point. What is Keith asking them to do? He wants it to be changed to say the governor can do this declaration if the county requests it, if the county determines that it's a state of emergency. But that's not how the law works. The governor can declare a state of emergency if she thinks that we're under an emergency. Has nothing to do with what the county says.
Well, yeah, but by what criteria does she make said determination?
Good point, Mike Jones.
That it has to be she has to be getting that info from somewhere.
Yep, and from whom is she getting that info? What is the cast of characters? Number one.
Yes, but if you'll pardon me for just a moment,
yeah.
Those two things that you're talking about are exactly the same thing. Now, it may not be an open, request of the board when Cheryl's on the phone with them in clandestine fashion, telling them, hey, this is what we want to do. Here's all the reasons why we want to do it. But it's tantamount to the same thing that you have, somebody from the board, asking them to or requesting of them to do this.
But they can't put it on the ballot that way, because if they put it on the ballot that way, that the governor can't do this unless the board determines that it's an emergency, then that's not legal, because that's not what the law says.
Okay.
So he's suggesting that everybody at that table knows is illegal, and he's making, with benefits, $100,000 a year, and you and I know this, and everybody in our audience probably knows this, but Keith doesn't.
Yeah, well, here's the problem. I think that if they're going to do what we think they're going to do, putting something like that in the advisory question would be stupid. The whole idea is you want to keep it as rosy as possible. Do you want some candy? And you go, yes, I do want some candy. Okay, here's your candy.
Is it okay if I keep touching you? No.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I want candy.
They want it to be as simple as that, and to throw things in there that are going to make people think about, well, what does that mean, or how would that work? I really need to see the mechanics of this. They don't want any of that, and so I'm dying to see what this question ending up like.
Well, here's something that's kind of interesting to me. Okay, in order to put something on the weekly business session, they must let people know 24 hours ahead of time what it is. They're going to have and when's the weekly business session? 9 a.m. on Wednesday. And when are they going to make their final determination of the last little tweaks to this? 9 a.m. on Tuesday. Well, 9:01, 9:05, 9:10, 9:30. So I'm not supposed to speak at these meetings, but before they broke up, and I said, how are you going to meet the 24-hour deadline? They will not be able to. So they're not going to worry
Why
about this. But of course, doing that will be illegal.
But why are they attempting to avoid it?
To avoid
the 24-hour meeting, the 24-hour
because they want to have one last touch.
Why are they?
They want to have one last touch at this thing on Tuesday. They could meet Monday, but they don't want to meet Monday. And so they're going to meet Tuesday, and then they're going to come up with. And so Wally is supposed to, over today and tomorrow, is supposed to come up with the compilation of words, and then they would like to have one last chance to wordsmith it to make sure that it says something very similar to the following. Would you like free money? Vote yes.
Yeah. Right.
They're getting as close to that as they possibly can. And all that Keith was suggesting here is, well, why don't we say that we'll have the final control over calling this an emergency? Mike's quite right. You're right. That is the way it works, but they can't put that on the ballot because that would be an illegal question because it's not true. Under the law, here's what the law says. Well, that's not what the law says. Law says the governor can do it any time. And I think, once again, that all they want to do is get close. They don't need 44% like they got in this last levy thing. It's so frustrating for them. They get close, but they never get it. In almost 20 years, they never gotten it. Now they've come up with a plan where they don't need to get close. You don't need to worry about the vote. You don't need to worry about America. You don't need to worry about the process. You don't need to worry about any of these stupid citizens that won't do as they're told. All you have to do is get close and convince the governor it's an emergency. And they've been working on the governor like crazy. The chief, the head law enforcement officer here, the county sheriff, it's an emergency. SOS, it's an emergency. Cuffs, it's an emergency. The DA, it's an emergency. The Cheryl Walker, it's an emergency. Keith Eck, it's an illegal emergency. Simon Hare, Wally Hicks, who's just been put on this criminal justice council, something or other. It's an emergency. They're all saying it's an emergency. Herman Bertschiger, I got to travel all over the county. There's no consensus. Must be an emergency. They're not going to listen to us. We're just the citizens. We're just the winners of every vote.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What if they called the Courier? What if they called Cajo? What if they talked with Carl Wilson? Yeah, it's an emergency. It's an emergency.
Yeah, I would expect that they would, find a friendly shoulder with those people. Something a little weird about this. If you have, let's say, 40% of the people, and I guess, you could formulate some sort of a thing where you go, we as the board have made the determination that there's an emergency and 40% of the people agree with us. That almost sounds like, hey, that's legitimate.
Might as well be 50, right? And the other 60%, they're ignorant. Really, when you think about it, they don't know what they're doing. Okay, but well, let's suppose.
But that's politically very, very dangerous.
No, but it's okay because they're not going to be the new commissioners anyway. They got nothing left to lose. If they're tossed out in May, then what do they care? And like Simon said, when he ran the first time, I want to be the first commissioner to pass a levy in our county in nearly 20 years. Well, at that time, it was 15 years. I want to be the first one. These guys are bound to determine to pass a levy over the vote of the people. And all they have to do now is convince one person, the governor. And they're going to array everybody. Why, they could probably get every member of Rotary to send a letter. The Chamber of Commerce, Darren Fowler, the mayor. Oh, it's definitely an emergency. Right? Get to what is
what I don't like about this is that this show right now. What are we brainstorming for these people now? You
think they don't know this? We just identified their plan. We just pulled the drapes off of their plan and said, "Look at the emperor. He doesn't have any clothes." That's the reason they didn't answer. They could have said, "Oh, please. Okay, I'll give you their answer. Mr. Matthews, what are you against people having a chance to vote? Why, this is my option for the people, said Simon Hare the first time around on a levy. Why, this isn't my levy, it's my option for the people. What, you don't want people to get a chance to weigh in and tell us their opinion? Yeah, we think we know the answer, but we want to be sure that we touch all the bases. And you're definitely against free speech, Mr. Matthews. You obviously are somebody that, you know, covering up and trying not to get cover up the news, don't tell. And so there's so many things they could have said. Instead, they just sat there. And then Cheryl says, well, your math is a little wrong. 40% is not 50%. That's it? That's your whole argument? We've just identified their plan.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now they're going to go for the gusto. They're going to go for everything, because if they can convince enough people that this is just free money, why, this isn't the state taking over. And what I said to him yesterday is, remember when you were warning us about the governor coming down here? This is the same thing, and taking over. Why, that governor's going to come down here and take over. You don't want that, do you? So you better vote for this levy. I said, this is the same thing, but now you're for it, aren't you? Oh, well, the governor's not going to come down here and take over. That's what they said when they were trying to get you to vote for a levy. No, now the governor is going to come down here with a bag of money for us. Whoa, you want that, don't you?
Yeah. See, now we don't even have self-determination here. Listen,
No.
if we want to have crappy underfunded government, that ought to be our choice. But now they're going to force crappy underfunded government on us.
Crappy underwear? They're going to force crappy underwear onto us?
Yes, right. Something like
I
that.
don't like that. Wash it out.
Because you know that the entire time when they, you know, after they, do this emergency thing, and we are going to have to pay for, you know, their half. If you think that we're not, guess again. Once we're paying for that, they'll still say it's not enough.
Well, the thing that affected me the most about all this was when we did that earlier show and we first were talking about what this means. It was Mike's reaction. Mike was like so despondent at the end of this show. Was like, there's nothing we can do, because they truly have nothing left to lose. What do they care if they're popular or not popular? Because they wouldn't win anyway. And he was like, we can't do anything. And the truth is, we can't do anything. Okay, it's just going to all be about luck now. Sorry to be such a downer here, but Mike was right. There's nothing that we can do, because they're not going to. You think that Cheryl's going to deviate off this path? There's only one salvation. And Mike, go ahead, tell us another salvation.
I don't think that, but you know, I mean, there's always the possibility that you motivate enough people to show up and pitch a hissy fit that they're scared to do it. You know, I mean, we've seen it happen.
This is going to be put.
Yeah, it'll be on the ballot.
Put it on the ballot, right?
Yes, and then we're going to spend the next couple of months flogging the real story on this thing and putting it out there to people and letting them know exactly what devious, evil plan is being executed. And you know, so I think there's always the possibility that generates some favorable politics. You know,
do you remember that interview that Mike did with that guy on the street? There was that guy on the street. He was wearing the red cap. It was on a First Friday. And the guy says, well, I'm generally in favor of higher property taxes because we need to fund our sheriff. But I am not in favor of the governor coming down and taking over and us turning over control of our county to Salem.
Right.
Interesting guy. Now, this is going to be worded in such a way, it's going to be a very small deviation from this. Would you like free money? And because they're doing this now, and you know this is their plan, because this is what they want this thing to say. It's going to be as close to that as they can possibly get and stay within the law. Would you like free money? This thing that they argued against, like I said, that they said was such an evil thing, and the reason you had to vote for the levy the last time was to avoid this thing that they're now promoting. And so but there is a solution to this. Let's suppose, all right, you really please, please, you really do need to vote on this. But if we win on this, 56%, 58%, 60%, they're going to pull the trigger. And we got 56% last time, which was higher than the previous time. If it's 50-50, you can forget about it. But Eve, I think if it's 60-40, you can definitely forget it. That it's done. It's a done deal. Oh, we want that free money. Because this, and especially attracted to them is the state won't come here and go through the books. No, we're going to go through the books if we get the 2 fiscal conservatives in there. If we get 1 fiscal conservative and 1 person on the borderline, you can just forget about it. You'll have more transparency, but nobody's going to look through the books. Are you kidding me? There'll be no chance because it'll be 2-to-1 the opposite direction. The only way to stop this, and you tell me, Mike, just pummel me with this, just kill me with this. I believe the only way to really, here we go. Okay, I'm getting ready. Yeah. The only way to stop this is you get 2 fiscal conservatives in there. Doesn't necessarily mean me. I'm just one. Okay, 2 fiscal conservatives in there, and once they're in, they make a trip to Salem. They send an emergency telegram, candygram to the governor. We're the newly elected people. We're telling you this is not an emergency. Pull the plug on this.
Right.
We're not going to take that money. We're going to refuse to take that money. We're the commissioners, and we're saying no, absolutely not. We're not going to do this. There's your only chance. It's your only chance.
Yeah, that's
Tell
true.
me I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'd love to have some other scenario for you, but that's the best one going.
It's the same thing with obeying the charter. Well, the law says you don't have to obey the charter. Okay, it gives you the excuse that you don't have to. But what if you've got 2 fiscally charter conservative people in there that say, well, the law says we don't have to, but we're going to. What? What do you mean you're going to? Yeah, we're going to follow the charter. Yeah, but you don't have to. But we want to. You want to? Why would you want to do that? You want to take less money? You want to turn over? Well, what happens when there's fees? Now the citizens get to vote on the fees. We don't want the citizens to vote on the fees, but that's what they want. Oh, we can't allow that. That's what we're going to do. That's the kind of power. See, they set this thing up, like I've said a dozen times, they set it up so all it takes is 2 people. See, even Keith Heck could be confused or out that day, and Cheryl and Simon can vote on this. It just takes 2 out of the entire county. As a matter of fact, they don't need your vote. Sound familiar, like the city? They don't need your vote. All they need to do is convince the governor, and the governor's probably already convinced, to be honest about it, and then they don't even need 2 commissioners to ask for it. The governor can just declare a state of emergency. They've just told you that.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get 2 people in there that will reverse this.
Wouldn't it be interesting if the governor, once she made up her mind to do this, that she would not be deterred even by the new commissioner elects?
When you wait till we get in office, okay, or whoever it is gets in office, but let's suppose it's you and me, Mike. Okay, it's not going to be me and Mike. It's probably not even going to be me, to be honest.
I'm not running, so that takes care of that.
I know, but let's suppose that it was now, and the governor says, "I don't care what you say. I'm going to impose this." And what do you do? What in civil disobedience, for example, can you possibly do?
Interesting.
You're not going to have the sheriff backing you up. It's not like you can put a block across the road and saying no people from Salem could come here.
Yeah. And what could they do? Could they
don't accept the money?
Right, but I mean, could they say, well, this is this emergency situation. We're not allowing you to not accept the money. We're going to force you to accept the money. And if you don't do what we want you to do, we're going to put our people in place down there.
Oh, please. So you're just teasing me, Mike. Look, we're in media. All right. Where do you think they would tell this story? Everywhere?
Yeah, they probably would.
Yes.
I don't know. Listen, I got to tell you, do not underestimate the desire on the part of authority to subjugate people. You know, and in this particular situation, they understand that probably the best way to subjugate somebody is to give them a handout and make them dependent upon it. And then at some place down the road, they can't live without you, and you are now God to them.
That's what this is all about. That's okay. But here's the story. And it doesn't even matter what the details are. People in two new politicians elected by the people in X county, where the state says, we're forcing you to do Y. We're forcing you to do Y. And they say, we don't want you to force us to do that. We're going to turn down the money. Yeah, but you're cash strapped. We're turning down the money because there's no emergency here. Stop, stop. There's no emergency. And they got all these people to say there's no emergency. Okay. And they say, stop. Now, would the Wall Street Journal pick up on that story? Would the LA Times pick up on that story? Would Fox News pick up on that story? Would Rush Limbaugh pick on that story? Would Bill Maher of HBO pick up on that story? Here's this outfit.
Maybe.
That says, we don't want your control over our county. You can keep your money. We decided to, we did our own cost benefit analysis. Go take your money and stuff it. Who's got the way
like
to do that?
I don't know. But you know, I like the idea. You know, and a lot of this, of course, is going to depend on what happens next year, because, you know, they've promised us that SRS is going away and it's never coming back, you know, and
now, which senator would push for it, getting us new SRS money, and which House member would do everything in his power to stop it? SRS money.
I don't know that any of them would take a position against that, just because that probably wouldn't be very popular with the people. I know they want to do it. I know that, you know, listen, Senator Merkley, I know darn well they want to turn the faucet completely off. It's what they want to do, because they know what that does. Right, because they know what that does, and that forces us to raise taxes on ourselves and start paying for, you know, the things that you know, that other people in economies that are going well can afford to pay for themselves, but used to be paid by the resource economy that we had.
So this is what you have going for you, and you only have this one thin thread going for you, to be honest. You've got a couple of people that are involved in media. Well, okay, you're rinky-dink, you're nothing. Okay, whatever. Okay, good luck finding someplace else, like the Courier, to take up your battle. And so what we do is then we say, well, look, here even a U.S. senator is going against the will of the people. He's advocating for state control over our county. He's fighting against us when we say we don't want your money because it comes attached with strings. He's really going to then fight against us getting our fair share from a solemn agreement, from a contract. He's in favor of cutting out the contract just to slap us across the face with state control.
Yes, that is how you play that politically. There's no question about that.
Good luck with that strategy, Senator.
Yes, right. It wouldn't play very well. Yeah, it wouldn't play very well. And you know what? Why is it that we don't play these hands? Why do we not attempt to characterize these people in a certain way that is advantageous to us? Why do we not do this?
I want to know how Simon Hare and Keithek can call themselves Republicans.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think the standard Republican pretty well left the building here in Josephine County in terms of active, politically active, you know, ones that are actually in government. Those people, you know, show me a conservative one of them.
I just can't get over the idea that these are the same people who warned us, said you must vote for this levy because otherwise the governor is going to come down here and take over. And now They're advocating for the same thing, so they'll get the money.
Mm-hmm.
Does that seem just a little bit two-faced to anybody?
Yeah, but you know what? See, before they were working on it from one angle, and now they're working on it from the other angle because the other angle is not available to them.
They
you know?
don't need to win the vote anymore. All they need to do is get close.
Yeah.
50-50, 49-51, they got it. They'll do it. They're going to do it with less percentage. They never need to win the vote again. This is what is at stake. This is why I'm excited about this. Not excited, happy, excited, upset. They'll never need to win a vote again. See, all they have to do is just call the governor in to take over. What kind of form of government do we call that in America? Brother, your vote then would mean nothing. Every time we defeated, almost 20 years of record would go down the drain. They finally found, they think that they found the final solution to this. And I'm using the right historical words, the final solution. Do this.
Well, okay. So you do this, and then what facilitates the increasing of that funding? Because, you know, ultimately, they don't just want a little bit. They don't want just you know, twice what we're taking in property taxes. But they want, you know, quadruple or, you know, more. Listen, any amount of funding that they have for any period of time, they are then going to want more than that by probably double. That's just how it works. And so
go ahead.
So what scenario?
Okay.
With this sort of a funding scheme, do you then add on? Do you then push a levy again on the people for more money, or
right, because you won't take off the state of emergency until that levy passes, and we'll be under the thumb of the. You go to the front door of the only single girl in town, and you try to stick your foot in the door, and she won't let you, and you keep trying to stick your foot in the door, and she won't let you. So you take out a shotgun, you blow off the door, and now what choice does she have?
Okay. Wow, that's pretty dramatic. Yes,
well, unusual for me, I know, but
yes.
My point is, I mean, if they can't get there through legal means. Do you remember? I know Mike remembers when we were at the Republican headquarters, and there were some people here that did not like that vote. That's America. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. They didn't like the vote. So what did they say? Well, it was illegal. No, it wasn't. People were confused. No, they weren't. You stink.
Yeah, it was really, really kind of bad. But, you know, I hate to keep pointing to that because in reality, those were the micro minority of that crowd.
Right.
They were less than 10% probably of the crowd of people that were there that were, you know,
the American way won that night. It won.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And in a previous vote, one of the wheels in the Republican Party actually called the radio station and said, "You got to pull those ads." He didn't have any right to do that, but he tried. And they took the signs out of the window. You don't have any right to do that, but they tried. And the people that go and they tear down signs or steal them, we got videotape of it. They don't have any right to do that, but they tried, and they succeeded on that one. And so these are not people that believe in the America that I grew up in, at least the one I think I grew up in. These are people that are going to get their way, whatever they have to do.
Yeah.
And if they win on this, no matter what the issue is, I think this is a particularly bad issue, but whatever the issue is, I don't like the kind of people that win that way. It's cheating. It's lying. It's cheating. It's taking the opposite side of where they were before. No, well, let's join on with the bad guys because now that may be the only way we can force this on the people. That's not America. That's what we're fighting for here. We're not getting paid to do this. You are paying the salary of people who are turning around and betraying you because this is what all of the people at that table. That's Simon. That's Keith. That's Cheryl. That's Wally Hicks. That's Wally Hicks' accessory. They're all pushing for this thing. They're going to get this through, I think, because they're going to word it in such a way where you're going to go, oh man, now that I read this, free money. Whoa. And low information voters, absolutely. Free money.
Yeah. Now, see, this isn't a ballot initiative. This is just a question. So there will be no counter argument in the voters pamphlet against this thing. Will there be?
No. We can do that. There won't be a counter vote, and we cannot. By state law, we're not allowed to put in a question. Really? Is that right?
I understand. But can we write opinions in the voters pamphlet or will it? Well, I guess there will have to be a voters pamphlet because there's going to be candidates and stuff. But
I tried to X one out the last time. Mm-hmm.
The thing is that there's an advisory question. Can we counter that? Can we put in a counter argument to the advisory question?
Is that a possibility? My understanding is that we can do that, we can do that.
Oh,
and the other thing that can happen is you've got candidates out there that feel strongly about this, and there are candidates that feel strongly for and against. And they can say it too.
Okay.
That's lovely, right?
Yes, and I would like to have them on record.
Right. Well, you got one of them on record. You got two of them on record already. Against. Absolutely. That would be Raymond Smith and myself. Well, there's lots of other people to choose from. No, good English. There's a lots. That's great English. There are many candidates from which you can choose that will back this idea 100% or act like they do and they don't, depending on which audience they're talking to.
Right.
There you go. We didn't get to play much of this little backroom meeting, but you get the general idea.
Yeah.
They're being very, very careful about how they word this, and they're going to try to rope you in on this and everybody that you know. So you have the first action item that you can do, tell your neighbors. But it's just an advisory question. Why I like the idea of free money. Please tell your neighbors that this is the same thing the commissioners were before trying to stampede us into voting for a levy because they didn't want this. Now they do want this.
Well, and we're going to have to get into the nitty and the gritty of 3453 and start parsing, sentences there and talk about it in detail so that people know what it is that you're voting on when you're going to vote on this, and then we'll try to make it as concise as possible. And then that's a link that you can pass around to people, who are in a quandary about, what do I do about this? Because, they're going to have, most people, the ballot comes to them and it sits around for a little while and they don't vote until they have to. I typically will vote instantly because I'm waiting for that to come with,
Mike's motto is vote early, vote often.
Yes.
They already said in this meeting that Simon Harris says that they're anticipating a challenge to the ballot title. Okay, good luck with that, especially if it goes in front of Judge Wolke. Okay, so there's no such thing as permanent, and there's no such thing as money with strings attached to it. Yeah, right. So there's that. But honestly, I'm hoping best of luck. Well, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but yeah, like this, just
okay. So if you kill a ballot title, then what? Does that kill
By that time, it'll be too late to change it.
Ah, I see. So it's worth doing.
It's worth doing, absolutely. The other thing is that, as people go through the voters pamphlet and decide what to do, they're going to read the first sentence or two, and they're wordsmithing the heck out of this, buddy. I mean, they are putting all the happy, fun words up front. Free money, and by the way, did we say free money? Okay, so some people are going to go through this and they're going to flip through. Would you like more status quo? Well, maybe not. Would you like free beer with your dinner? Oh, well, maybe yes. Would you like some other goofy kind of thing? Would you like to keep the children safe? Well, maybe I do want to do that. And this one, would you like a bunch of free money? It's really not up to us now. It's up to you guys. It truly is up to you, because we can only talk to so many people. It's you. It's the word of mouth.
Right. Got to pass it around.
Like that hoof and mouth disease at the elementary
Right.
school. Yeah. Oh, brother. Well, okay. Let's be infectious. Thanks, everybody, and have a really happy evening now that we've helped you get to that point.